So welcome to the 2023 HBCU-UP CREST PIPD meeting. We are so excited to be back in person. Since 2020, that was our last in-person meeting. So it's great to see you all here. My name is Iris Wagstaff. I'm a STEM program director at the American Association for the Advancement of Science, or AAAS, and I serve as the AAAS lead for this meeting and the NSFPI for this meeting, as well as the EARN conference, which many of you stay over for to support your students. So thank you all for coming. This is our first completely hybrid meeting, so bear with us, be patient. So hybrid meeting, all of these sessions that are in person are live streamed and recorded to accommodate virtual attendees. So this is our first time trying this, so we hope that you enjoy that access, especially to the virtual attendees. So welcome also to the virtual attendees that are tuning in for this opening plenary. So I think that's about all I have as far as announcements. Again, we're so glad to see you all back in person. We hope that you get value and impact out of this meeting. We hope that you make connections and network. And we also hope that you walk away with valuable information and resources to help you continue in your work in supporting our students and creating equitable pathways in STEM. So I will now hand it over to Carlita Page Anderson, HBCU-UP Program Lead.
Thank you, Iris. Thank you, AAAS, and all of the organizations that you've engaged with to help implement this year's HBCU-UP CREST PI meeting. I am excited to see you. I'm excited to see you in person. Many of you we've engaged through Zoom, but there's nothing like being at home. And so this year's theme for the 2023 HBCU-UP CREST PI meeting is "This is how we do it." If you happen to attend an HBCU like I did, then you know that that's a seminal song that's played every now and again. And so we are excited to welcome you back home with us, but we're also excited to have you double down on the extent to which you are serving your students, uplifting yourselves, informing your administrators, and really generating the knowledge that's necessary to inform the national STEM community about broadening participation in STEM. So thank you and welcome home. We're excited to have you. I have a few announcements myself, and then I am going to introduce the other plenary speakers for this morning. First and foremost, I wanted you to be aware that we do have a team Wisdom Capture who will be generating B-roll for today's event. This B-roll is being used by the National Science Foundation to just kind of produce some content where we can showcase our efforts. So we, wanted you to be aware of it, and if you find that one of the AAAS staff persons kind of inquire about your interest in offering your thoughts and perspectives about either the HBCU-UP program and or CREST, we will welcome your comments accordingly. So feel free to engage in that process. Also, you received information about registering for rapid meeting sessions. So as in-person attendees, we're sorry, virtual attendees, but we wanted to create an environment where we can invite members of the federal community, along with additional NSF program officers, to really convene and interact with our community on a one-on-one basis. So you all received links where you could sign up and meet for about 15 minutes with each of these persons from, again, across federal agencies. We have about 11 or so external to the National Science Foundation and maybe 10 or so programs represented across the various directorates within the NSF. These are also in addition to persons who will be featured throughout the agenda. So we believe we've really addressed numerous amounts of funding opportunities for which we believe you have interest. We certainly know they are interested in hearing from you. And so if you could please, if your schedule has changed and you've signed up and you may not be available, feel free to update that to allow space and time for someone else. But please, please, please take advantage of that opportunity. And then lastly, in terms of updates, I wanted to remind you and underscore the poster session event that's happening this afternoon. That will be a completely virtual experience. And so if you have not had time to view the posters, please log into the Juno app or visit the website. We have over 90 posters from members of you and our virtual community who are sharing what they've done so far, what they've learned, and we really believe this may be a good opportunity to extend your networking capabilities as well. And so that will be, again, completely virtual, but we invite you to attend those respective sessions and hear from your colleagues about the amazing work that they're doing. And so with that, the second role that I have this morning is to introduce our two amazing colleagues from the NSF who will be providing greetings this morning. The first of which is our Assistant Director of the STEM Education Directorate at the National Science Foundation, Dr. James Moore, who will be followed by our Deputy Division Director of the Division of Equity for Excellence in STEM, Dr. Jermelina Tupas. I'd like to provide a brief introduction for both of them, and then, of course, they will come up to the podium in that order. So our Dr. Moore, as I mentioned, Assistant Director for the STEM Education Directorate at the National Science Foundation, has a wealth of experience. And I am excited. I'm not going to read verbatim. I want to invite you to read his entire bio as is reflected on the Juno app. But just personally, as a fairly newcomer to the National Science Foundation, where I've just celebrated my second year, it was an honor to receive him as the newest assistant director for our directorate. Someone who certainly understands the purpose, particularly of our respective programs, HBCU-UP and CREST, but also who has been really a visionary in helping to provide knowledge and generate understanding, scholarship in his capacity at The Ohio State University. It's someone who I have never met before he was onboarded, but since he's been present, every time I'm able to hear him speak, I leave inspired to continue to do this work. And so, Dr. Moore, on behalf of HBCU-UP and CREST, we thank you for your presence, but we also thank you for your leadership, and we look forward to hearing from you. We'll also hear from Dr. Jermelina Tupas on behalf of the Equity for Excellence in STEM division at the NSF, where HBCU-UP and CREST programs are housed. Again, Dr. Tupas's bio is reflected in the Juno app. And again, I won't read it. You can for your pleasure. But I will say again from a personal perspective, I met Dr. Tupas actually as a PI at this meeting quite a few years ago. And it was at that time that she was able to engage with this community. And again, since my onboarding, she's been a resource. She's been available, especially onboarding virtually. It's very important to be able to have a colleague to extend a helping hand and making sure you understand the landscape and climate of the work that it is that you're doing. So, Dr. Tupas, on behalf of HBCU-UP and CREST, we thank you for your presence as well. Feel free to join us. Thank you.
Good morning. Come on, good morning. This meeting gives us an opportunity to reclaim our humanity. We haven't been in contact with each other since the pandemic, and we have the resolve and the resilience. It just, an indication of our resolve is just by being here. And our institutions not only survive, but they thrive. And I think that deserves a hearty, hearty, hearty round of applause. I'm so elated to be here. I was shaped by a HBCU, where the love was sound, unconditional, and never ending. There were individuals just like in this room who saw possibilities in me that I didn't even see in myself. Some people say the world is about who you know, not what you know. I can tell you this. If I didn't know anything, I probably wouldn't be here. So it's important to tell your students that the importance of that class that they may dismiss, that they say they don't really need it. The only way you will know whether or not you don't need it if you died at that moment. But if you keep living, you never know, you may have to pull from it. Minority serving institutions are critical. They play a critical role in the workforce, as well as preserving, and not only that, preserving, proliferating our democracy. It's hard to engage our democracy at a very high level if individuals are not afforded a quality education. HBCUs, you meet students where they are. You don't see them. You're almost like a romanticist. You don't see them what they are, you see what they can become. And I'm sure we know we don't pay you enough for all the work that you do. But like me, when I talk to my mentors, and now I'm now getting old, they're retired, they deposited in me, and now they always say, I didn't make a lot of money, but I have a lot of equity. I want you to give yourself a hearty round of applause for the work that you do and that you will do and continue to do. Please give yourself a hearty round of applause. There are a lot of changes at NSF, and one of the things when we have our all-hands meeting, I'm going to have to tell our team, I know you all are PIs, but we should have had more NSF representation in this room that took up the room, because we want you to know that you are valued and you're important for us to realize the American dream. We know that there are so many young people who have the capacity, much more capacity than I have, but they haven't been adequately cultivated, inspired, and encouraged to pursue STEM in a way that we need them to pursue it. So many young people have foreclosed on STEM possibilities because they haven't seen how it fits in their life trajectory. See, one of the things, there's the power. You have power in the classroom. There's the art and there's the science. The art is what kindles the spirit and makes students so intrigued and inspired, and they be so inspired that they become self-regulated, that they're asking you for extra homework, like I'm sure many of you all did in your journey. It's important for us to laugh. And it's important for us to not always look at the generation that comes behind us as being different, as if they're lacking something. I remember when my grandmother had some problems with James Brown. I remember when my mom had some problems with Wu-Tang Clan. And I'm sure my children know I have some problems with the skinny jeans guys. I can't even name the names, because I'm not in tune with contemporary times. But each and every generation makes a contribution. And each generation before that generation is responsible how they cultivate and nurture. As Woody Hayes would say at Ohio State, my home institution, how we pay it forward. It's critical. See, some of us in our lives, we think about where we are in our life and we say, wow. We think about mentors, how they not only mentor us, but how they inspired us. That's what you represent in here. You represent a groundswell. HBCUs and other minority institutions represent the hallmark of what excellence, achieving in spite of. educated a whole generation. When I travel around the world, when I think about other groups that reflect the populations that comprises your institutions, what separate places, in Brazil, they don't have minority serving institutions. In other parts of the world, not only you educate individuals, but you give them a sense of self, an affirmation to be pioneers, to go places that not many people in their communities or their families have ever been before. That's what love does. That's what mentorship does. If you ever read the book, Tuesdays with Morrie, that's a wonderful example of a relationship between a professor and a student. At NSF, we're trying to reach the missing millions. Those students who have not been cultivated for STEM possibilities. At NSF, we're trying to create opportunities everywhere for all. We can't even talk about that without talking about minority serving institutions. It starts and ends with those institutions. This is our Sputnik moment, even though I wasn't born at that time. The agency was founded during that time. And for those of you who might not want to tell your age, and you might have read about it just like I did, is that Russia launched the Sputnik before us. And America almost lost her mind. We didn't have a U.S. Department of Education at that time. The Department of Defense acted, and the National Defense Act emerged. And they focused on the same things that we're focusing on today. A full circle moment. Here we are, the CHIPS and Science Act is reflective of that moment in time. And it's a moment in time that each one of us must seize, and we must work together. This meeting is not just a meeting of the minds. It's a meeting of fellowship, but more important, it's a meeting of collaboration. It's important that you find new collaborators so you can take your science, your innovations, your ideas to scale. One of the things we talk about in the agency is partnerships. For us, let me just back up here. Our budget in the Directorate for STEM Education is $1.3 billion. Now, when I first got in this job, I said I'll probably never, ever see the kind of money in spreadsheets I see. But when I meet with you and I travel, I realize it's a drop in the bucket to the enormity around the issues that we have to confront. So money alone won't solve the problems, but I think we have a chance when we work together and collaborate. We're going to do some things different. We do outreach in the agency, but we don't do engagement well. We do webinars, we'll come out and talk to you. We need to do more to earn your trust and the trust of the individuals in your communities. We want people to know that NSF hears you. We see the problems. But as being a person who comes from the very communities that you all are shaping, you can't be all words. As my grandfather would say, all dressed up, got a lot of places to go, ain't going anywhere. We are committed to minority serving institutions. I'm going to close on this. A couple of things. NSF funds people and ideas. Let me say this again. NSF funds people and ideas. the best ideas. It's a 100% chance your proposal won't get funded. If what? If you don't submit. That's 100%. I know I got some mathematicians in here. But you got a chance. And chance is all we pretty much want in life. Seize the moment. Where the telephones, the emails of program officers. And when you get tired, think about the young people who you're serving, how they can benefit from whatever the idea that you propose. There's never a bad idea. In fact, we need ideas that deviate from the norms. The last thing I say, two things. I want to please acknowledge our soldiers, the people who fill in the gap at NSF who helped put this conference together. But not only that, they hold me to the fire every day to tell me what the real issues and what the concerns of the community. Please join me giving AAAS and NSF program officers in this room, as well as the people who will serve you in this hotel. Let's give them a hearty round of applause. I close on this. You probably hear it in my voice. I'm from the South. I like to say I'm a son of the South. I was shaped by it. All that I am, that I hope to be, was a part of that experience. I'm from South Carolina. And I always tend to end with this, and I believe this person is one of the greatest educators of the 20th century. He shaped the ideals, the worldview of Dr. Martin Luther King, and his name is Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, born in the same county where my grandmother was born in South Carolina. If you remember when Obama was running for president, they were saying, yes, we can, they came from Greenwood, South Carolina, by the way. I won't give South Carolina his credit. But Mays says this. He says this: whatever you do it so good that no man or woman, dead, alive, or yet to be born, can do it better. That's the level of excellence we need you to strive for, and that's the level of excellence we need to strive for. Thank you. I wish you a wonderful conference.
Okay, good morning. Oh, okay. I will put you to sleep if you don't say good morning back. But I am really happy to be here with you, and I'm also very happy to follow Dr. Moore. That was a very inspirational and encouraging remark. So thank you, Dr. Moore. And I was going to say, Dr. Diana Elder, who is our division director, sends her greetings as well. She won't be able to join us, but I know that she's thinking of you and this meeting. So thank you for all those who could come in person. We really like this. This is the first time, even for myself, to meet some of the NSF staff. So I'm really happy that I came on site because this is an opportunity for me to meet them. So you probably have heard that our division has changed its name. And let me see, who has heard of HRD before? Wonderful. Who knows what the new name is? Okay, we have very few who knows it. We are now the Division of Equity for Excellence in STEM. Yes, we call it simply EES because it's rather a mouthful, right? But I want you to know that in the same way that the directorate has changed from EHR, Education and Human Resources, to the Directorate for STEM Education, we changed our names because we really want to get that message out there. What is the message for EES? So, as you know, it was known as the Division of Human Resource Development and was established in 1991. Okay, and by the change of the division name, we want to tell everyone that our mission, okay, which is to make sure that we grow the innovative and competitive U.S. STEM workforce that is vital for sustaining and advancing the nation's prosperity by supporting the broader participation and success of individuals currently underrepresented in STEM and the institutions that serve them. Okay, we continue with that mission, in fact, with EES. And the name itself really shows you that we are very, very serious about this mission. So we hope that through our programs like HBCU-UP and CREST, we will continue to see the steady growth of leaders from your institutions. So it is our vision and hope that a well-prepared and competitive U.S. workforce of scientists, technologists, engineers, mathematicians, and educators will reflect the diversity of the U.S. population. That's the main focus of why we had to change our name from just developing that human resource for education to that of equity for excellence in STEM. So some of you may know that EES just celebrated its 30th anniversary in 2021. And with year-long presentations from about 10 of our programs. So every month we had some presentation just to say, hey, we're actually celebrating our 30th anniversary. We are also happy to note that HBCU-UP program will commemorate its 25th anniversary this year. Yay! And to say you are part of that, because this has been the program that has been supporting those institutions where you have your projects. As Dr. Moore mentioned, since as early as the 1970s, NSF has demonstrated a clear commitment to advancing the STEM research and education capacity of institutions with significant enrollment of minority students. Although it initially started as an umbrella program for all designated minority-serving institutions, in 1998 emerged an HBCU-specific institutional capacity building endeavor, where the first 3 awards were made to Southern University, Morehouse College, and Morgan State University. In subsequent years, congressional appropriation to NSF outlined specific requests to incorporate this program into its annual budget. And we're hoping that it will keep on going up, up, up. And if you see how it's going up, we're hoping that it will continue that way. Thus, as we commence this anniversary season, we aim to celebrate our past and strategically position the program to continue its investment in STEM research and education at HBCUs. As the theme of this HBCU-UP CREST conference denotes, we are doubling down on our success and looking to the future. In that respect, as you begin your conversations over the next 2 days, I would like to add to Dr. Moore's request that you consider emerging areas of interest and opportunity. And if we can have that slide. So we'd like you to really think of how can NSF support HBCU faculty, and by extension, minority-serving institution faculty as they seek to energize their roles as institutional change agents. Yes, you gotta embrace that thought. You are institutional change agents. The next question is, how can NSF support smaller HBCUs as well as smaller MSIs as they navigate NSF programs where they can receive support for their research and education ambitions? Lastly, think about this. Where can NSF improve its outreach to HBCUs and MSIs? And Dr. Moore already said we're very good with outreach, but we need more engagement. So question is, are we doing enough? So while you think about these items, I also would like to acknowledge that our program officers for the HBCU-UP and CREST programs have developed a charge for you as principal investigators and project directors to guide you as you begin your discussions. So you have 2 days of important and consequential discussions, and we would like to provide you the charge so that you could focus your discussion based on these 4 items. So I'm going to put that to the next one. There you go. Here's your charge, okay? Building community, first bullet. Are you building community? And what excites you about your future work? Second bullet, sharing best practices. Have you developed best practices for broadening participation in research and education? And are you sharing them? It's very important to share them, because if you build it and you don't share it, they won't come, okay? So the next item is establishing partnerships and collaboration. And I think Dr. Moore also said how important this is in terms of the work that we do. And are you moving ahead with new and different connections and collaborations? Are you able to forge them while you are at this conference? Okay. There's a lot of you around that you can see. Maybe it's time to really get to know each other and say, what are you working on? Can we work together, right? And it's a good way also to share resources when you're building that collaboration and partner. So you don't have to use the same money for the same things that you can do together. And lastly, pursuing new funding opportunities. How are your new ideas being pursued to become reality if they are not funded through the HBCU-UP or CREST programs? Have you explored other funding opportunities? Luckily, the program officers of these 2 programs have invited a lot of our federal agency colleagues who will be meeting, talking with you, and you can ask all the questions. Look, as Dr. Moore said, if you don't submit it, you're 100% not to get it, right? And take note that each agency actually may have their website and will show you the institutions that they have been funding. And the first thing to do is reach out. Reach out to your program officers, because they are your resources and they will help you navigate the different agencies that the federal government has that support different kinds of research activities. So please accept our charge to fully engage in this well-crafted PI meeting agenda. Thanks AAAS for doing that. And from the program business meetings, breakout sessions, and convenings with broader NSF programs and other federal agencies, we hope that you are inspired to return to your home institutions and continuing to implement the standard of excellence that we all appreciate and value. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Moore and Dr. Tupas. Thank you for your attention. As we start to transition to the next phase of the program, specifically the concurrent business meetings, for all presenters, if you could make sure that you're utilizing the microphone so our virtual participants can benefit from the insight that you're providing, we greatly appreciate that. And then also for the benefit of our virtual audience, we want you to know that we have identified several persons on our NSF staff to serve in the capacity of virtual experience coordinators. This title, it means so much, and we're still working through exactly how we're going to do that, but we want you to know that there's an intentional effort to engage with you, the virtual community. We want to invite your voice into this space. And so thank you to all of the virtual experience coordinators as you engage with the virtual audience, field their questions, really being sure to capture their voice as you articulate to the various speakers throughout the sessions what might be pending, but also be prepared to share the contact information of the respective speakers so that those persons can follow up and certainly benefit from the insight of those persons. So with that, we will close the first plenary session, but I hope you are motivated to continue and engage throughout the day. You have your respective agendas, you have the Juno app. Thank you, and see you in the next session.